Good morning and welcome back, everybody. Doc Dave here On Call with Doc Dave. So today we're going to do episode number 26, which is going to be titled Obesity. So this is something everybody should listen to. Even if you're not obese, you may know people that are obese, people in your family, friends. Share this episode with them. It's going to be very informative. And I think people will enjoy learning about obesity definitions, how to control it, and how to treat it. So let me just say a few things about obesity to start. First of all, it's a disease, not a disability. So you're not going to get a placard for your car if you're overweight because the ADA, American Disabilities Act, does not recognize obesity as a disease. So that's something, common sense to know. Now, what is obesity? How do you get obesity? It's an excess of input of calories versus output or burning of calories. It's too much body fat that can be a risk of health problems. So we're going to go over this a little bit later, but basically there's 15 different cancers and over 200 medical conditions that are associated with obesity, not to mention possibly up to 15 years of decreased life expectancy associated with some types and some degrees of obesity. So how do we measure obesity? Well, there's a thing called a BMI. It's your body mass index, and it's a ratio of your body height to your body weight. And I'm going to give you some different numbers now to describe anywhere from underweight to morbid obesity. So a BMI, again, it's that ratio, and everybody can measure it out. You take your height, and then you put your pounds, and then you get the ratio. There's calculators on the internet that'll measure this for you. I can just say offhand, if you're around 20 to 23, you're in good shape. But let me explain the numbers to you. So anything underweight is anything under a BMI of 18.5. So if you're running a BMI of 16, got to hit the child table a little bit better because it's almost as bad to be seriously underweight as it is overweight. So, thin is thin, but don't overdo it. Now, normal BMIs, like I said earlier, anywhere from 19 up to 25. You kind of want to stay in that mid-lower 20 range to be in the healthy area. Overweight. Overweight starts at 25 to 30. Now, overweight's different than obesity. So we're not obese yet, but we're kind of getting there. We're overweight. Now, obesity starts after 30. So if your BMI is 32, 33, you are definitely into the obese range. You can't grow taller, so what are you going to do? You got to lose weight to get that ratio down. So remember that. Now, there's also something called classes of obesity. Now, once you're in the obesity, you're over that 30 BMI, you got a class 1 obesity, which is 30 to 35. You got a class 2 obesity, which is 35 to 40. You got a class 3 obesity, which is 40 to 50. Class 4 obesity, which is 50 to 60. And God forbid a class 5 obesity, which is greater than 60. If you live that long. Now, so that's your BMI, and that's your different classes of the obesity category in your BMI. Now, I'm not going to try to complicate this, but there's also a thing called stages of obesity. Now, stage 1 obesity, BMI from 25 to 30. It's not obese, but its weight is higher than recommended for your weight and your height. So be careful if you start to creep above that 30. You might want to start taking actions right away because it's a lot easier to lose 5 or 8 pounds than it is to lose 30 pounds. Stage 2, class obesity, BMI between 30 and 35. If you are officially obese if you're into that stage 2 BMI obesity class 2. So stage 3 is 35 to 40, and then stage 4 is in the 40s. So don't be confused by this. It's best just to go with the BMIs because most of us aren't going to be hitting the greater than 30 obesity section, but this is what is tailored towards this episode on my podcast. So I want to kind of, explain what the obesity stages and classes are. You can always go over this again, take notes, whatever you need to do. So, are genetics associated with obesity? Yes. So the hereditary is 50 to 75% of obese parents will pass this on to their children. Just like they say there's an alcohol gene, greater than 50% of the parents that are alcoholics may have children that are alcoholics as well. So that's something you need to consider. Now, signs of obesity. What are the signs? Other than just looking obese and having, what they call a pot belly, you get swelling of the lower legs with varicose veins in the lower legs because it's not enough pressure in your muscle contractions to pump the venous blood out of your lower legs and into your circulation, and therefore your lower legs start to swell, and you get those extended visible varicose veins, which nobody likes. What waist side is considered obesity? What is your waist? That if you're above that waistline, then you're kind of considered in that BMI over 35 or 30. So a waist in a male over 40 or a female over 35 is considered obese. So if you can't figure it out with the BMI, you look at your waist size. And the other sign of obesity, which is a potentially morbid sign, is hypertension, blood pressure greater than 140 over 90. So if you're obese and your blood pressure is going to go up to 160 over 110, that's a real problem. Strokes, heart attacks, all kinds of medical conditions. So, and here's an interesting fact. A BMI over 40 is associated with a decrease in age life expectancy of up to 15 years. So if normal life expectancy is, maybe 78, 80 in the United States, if your BMI is over 40, you're down into the mid 60s or low 60s. So, it's, you got to figure out, you want to keep eating fats, carbs, sugars, this, that, and the other. You're taking days off your life every time you have a bag of potato chips. So, what is the healthiest way to lose weight? So this is an important part of this podcast. The healthiest way to lose weight is healthy eating habits. So, you want to decrease your fats, you want to decrease your carb intake. You want to start to avoid, if not eliminate, things like potatoes and sugar beverages and chips and sweets and desserts and refined grains, red meats and processed meats and alcohol. A glass of wine has almost 300 calories. Yeah, most people burn about 2,200 calories a day if you're not overly exercising. And if you're having 2-3 glasses of wine a day, you're already halfway to putting weight on. So that's something to remember. Best foods to eat are whole grains, fruits, and veggies. I mean, how many times have we heard this? And our mothers back in the 50s and 60s, my mom used to tell me this: eat your veggies, eat your fruit, And there's a reason, because it's healthier for you. So, other things you can do other than dietary and lifestyle change is regular physical exercise, up to 30 minutes a day, which is walking about 1 mile. It's not asking that much. You got the whole day to get that in. And and if, or do, play some pickleball, play some tennis, go out and play golf, join some sports activity leagues. It's things that are enjoyable to lose weight. The diet's a little difficult sometimes, but the exercise should be more enjoyable. Ride a bike, walk your dog. Now, get proper sleep. It just shows that if you sleep regularly 7 to 9 hours a night and you get a good quality sleep, it's going to burn more calories. Manage stress. When you get stressed out, what's the first thing you want to do is go eat some chocolate chip cookies or something. So be careful with that. So here's an interesting stat. I gave you some stats earlier with the BMI and the classes and the stages. So I didn't want to pour this one on. It was just too many stats all at once. But recommended weight for your height. That's always something nice to know. So we're going to start at around 5'8". If you're 5'8", you should be weighing anywhere from 125 to 140. Now I'm going to skip 2 inches each time because otherwise it's too laborious. If you're 5'10", 140 to 170. Anything over 175 to 210 is obese. If you're 6 foot, 145 to 185 is a healthy weight. And if you're 185 to 220, you're obese. 6'2", 150 to 190 is considered a healthy weight. And if you're 195 to 225, you're considered in the obese range. And we'll stop at 6'4". 160 to 200 pounds is considered a healthy weight. 205 to 245 is considered in the obese range. So, the last thing I want to touch on, and I'm not going to get into too much detail on this because this is not what these podcasts are about. I'm not going to give you a bunch of names for medications and stuff. This is something you need to discuss with your doctor. But I am going to tell you that there are medications available. Now, we've all heard of the GLP-1 agonist. And those are your Ozempics, your Wegovy's, and your Mounjaros. And I won't go into all the biochemistry on how they work and stuff, but these are things that your doctor will probably bring up if you are interested in going the medication route to correct obesity. Other things are surgery. Now, again, got to talk to your doctor about this because he's the one that's going to be doing it. There's two prominent surgical procedures that are performed for obesity corrections. The first is gastric bypass. We've probably all heard about that. It basically bypasses your stomach by almost entirely. So it decreases the amount of food that you can ingest. So if you're not ingesting as much food, you're ingesting less calories, so you're going to start losing weight. The other one is a gastric sleeve, or what's called stomach stapling. And again, decreases the pouch of your stomach, lesser amount of food can be ingested, you're going to start to lose weight. So again, like I say, you can do a whole podcast on Ozempic, but I'm not going to do that because I don't want to get any interference with you and your doctor relationship. So in conclusion, after all these numbers, like I say, this may be a re-listen and maybe take some notes, is that obesity is potentially a fatal disease. It's not a disability. Like I said earlier, it's associated with 15 different types of cancer and over 200 medical conditions. Common stuff, hypertension, diabetes, heart disease, strokes. So, you got to take this serious, otherwise you're going to run into a lot of complications, maybe not in your 30s and 40s, but definitely in your 60s and 70s. So, in concert with your physician, like I said earlier, you can explore many different types of cures, lifestyle changes. Get somebody to help you, a nutritionist. Most insurance companies have nutritionists that can help you discuss what's a good diet and what type of exercises to do. And again, I mentioned the medications, the GLP-1s, and the surgical procedures. So, lose weight if you want to be healthier and increase your life expectancy. That's the takeaway from this entire podcast. So I hope you enjoyed this. This is the kind of podcast you could pass on to people. Don't feel like you're insulting them, because really what you're doing is you're trying to make them healthier and extend their lifestyle because you love them. And they will look at it that way and not be an insult because you sent this to them. So do that. And if you liked it, please hit the like button. I like likes. And subscribe, because I got a lot of more fun and interesting and educational podcasts coming very soon. So thank you for your time, and I will talk to you soon.